So what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Robert. If this is your first time tuning in. So today the question we're going to be answering, or kind of asking, is what are some things I wish I would have known, or I wish my high school would have taught me about money. This is a topic or a question that gets asked a lot of times, sometimes by you guys in the comments, or just discussions that we have between friends and family of myself. So I want to kind of quickly talk about that. Because I feel like the school system does not do enough to teach us about money, at least in the public sector for most people. Again, if you gain any value from this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. So real quickly, I guess we'll kind of talk about why do they not teach us these things in school. I have a couple theories. Go ahead and chime in if you guys have any other theories as well. But some of the reasons I think they don't teach us these money habits or these money skills is because you still need employees. You still need people to go out there to grind and to work every single day. We have a bunch of spider webs right now. If you teach everybody about money, you teach everybody about investing, you teach everybody about entrepreneurship or passive income or whatever, right? You're not going to have as many people hungry to go out there and find a job and to work their butts off, right? You can't have everybody doing the same thing. It takes many different types of people for the world go around. So if you teach everybody about investing, everybody's gonna be investing and not necessarily the employee. So that's one of my theories, is that you can't spread that kind of information to everybody. You can't get everybody on board with this information, because then you have nobody who wants to work, right? You'll have everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, everybody who wants to be an investor, everybody who's going to be in real estate or whatever, right? It won't make sense to do that. So that's one reason. I know a couple other people I've talked to, they have some theories that, you know, the wealthy people don't want to share too much information because then that means less money for them. I've heard all kinds of stories, but that's just my personal one, the one I just told you guys. But so some things that I wish that I would have learned in high school, it would have saved me a lot of years, a lot of headaches, and a lot of trial and error. But no regrets. I am grateful for the trial and errors. It's definitely gotten me a lot smarter along the way. But one of the first things I wish I would have known in high school is that you don't actually have to go out there and work for your money. You can actually have your money working for you once you have money. So maybe initially you need to go out there and work to figure out how to make money, but after that you can pretty much put your money away and it can start working for you pretty easily. And again, that's something that isn't taught in school, is that, you know, you can have money working for you. You don't necessarily have to be going out there working for the money. So once I found that out, again, I was in my 20s when I learned that. I was like, holy crap, that's just like, it's mind-blowing when you figure these things out for the first time, especially, you know, you've never been taught this, you've never been surrounded by anyone who even thought like this, anyone who even had the opportunity to teach you these things. So when you find these things out, it's so mind-blowing and changes your mind forever. Kind of one of the first books I ever did read on this was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'll link it down below in the description. But that was one of the first books that I read that kind of taught me about this stuff. And without that book, I wouldn't have dove into more books, and then now YouTube videos, and then just all different sources of information. That book pretty much got me started on that journey. Again, I'll leave it down below in the description. But second thing I wish I would have known is that there is passive income. Passive income, when you hear about it, which again, I didn't hear about this thing till in my 20s as well, is basically you can sit back and collect money. Like what? You know, growing up, I was always taught that you have to go out there and work hard and work for your money, earn it, etc., right? Especially coming from a Hispanic culture, we work very hard as Hispanics. I've been working since I was probably 8 years old, 9 years old. So I've been working for a long time in the fields, in the sun, just hard labor. I've been doing hard labor for a while, for 20 something years, right? Been working for a long time. So again, when I came into my 20s and I figured out that there's passive income, that just blew my mind away. Like, say what? You can make money without having to work hard? That's crazy. And so now that kind of flipped my mind on how I think about it. I like to call myself lazy in the way that I make money. I'm physically not lazy. I like to work, but I like to work differently now today than I have, you know, in my prior years. But I like to make lazy money, the least amount of risk with the most amount of reward. So that's what I look for today. But again, these are not things that are taught in high school. Nobody teaches you about passive income. Nobody teaches you about investing. Now, another one I wish I would have learned in high school was real estate or rental properties to quickly build wealth. So real estate's a big generator of wealth because you're dealing with big numbers and you can use leverage. This is another thing I wish it was taught, is leverage. You can leverage, say, you know, we just got one house under contract for $3,000 down using an FHA loan. They're getting $100,000 house. You know, where else can you control, let's just call it an even $100,000 asset with only $3,000 down in real estate? That's something that's not taught in school, is that you can really leverage what you do have, which $3,000 isn't a lot of money. You can leverage those $3,000 to now control a $100,000 asset that's going to continue to go up in value, and at the same time you're going to be making money. You're going to be not making money, you're going to be paying on the property itself. So now the loan on that house is coming down, but the asset is going up in value. You know, these are just things that are not taught in school. And man, I wish I would have learned all this stuff when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. It would have sped up my life multiple years. But again, I didn't come to learn all this stuff till I was in my 20s, which I'm grateful, because a lot of people don't learn all this stuff till maybe 30s or 40s. So I'm grateful I did learn it, you know, at least in my 20s. But for a lot of people watching, you know, this channel, if they're in the early teens or 20s, it goes a long way too. It can really help speed up your life. But again, real estate is something that isn't taught in school. Leverage isn't taught in school. Leveraging what you have to control an asset worth $100,000 isn't taught in school. No one ever teaches you about investing in high school either. You have to go out and figure it out for yourself. You know, in high school, if you're even taught about money, it's taught about, you know, just passing tests to go to college, to pass more tests, to get a job, to stay there for 30, 40, 50 years, and to just grind, right? Those 40, 50 years. That's crazy, because that doesn't have to be like that anymore. There's so many different ways, so many different opportunities today, that you don't have to do that. There's so many faster ways to get to point A to point B instead of grinding for 40, 50 years. So again, these are just things that I wish I would have been taught in high school. Again, I know a lot of people that were not taught this stuff in high school as well. Now, maybe some people go out to these fancy schools, private schools. Maybe they're taught a little bit more than public school kids. But most of the people I know went to public school, and they say as well that they never were taught this stuff either. But those are some of the top things that I wish I would have learned about in high school that I didn't learn about. Again, because the last one we just talked about, real estate, that will quickly generate some money for you, some cash flow or wealth, or when you sell the property, some money. And then from there, it gives you a crazy huge head start in life. And then from there, you can take it any which way you want. You have money to play around with, to take a little bit more risk. You have money to kind of play it safe, put some in a savings account. You have money for different things that the average person doesn't have, because the average person isn't thinking about real estate, because we're not taught about real estate. So we're not taught about investing in general. So it puts you at a really huge advantage once you start to figure these things out. And again, it'd be really nice if they would teach us these things in high school, but unfortunately they don't. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it right there, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, be careful, be good, take care, God bless. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.